Now, a new study out of Wisconsin shows that there is a retirement crisis in the state. Among the key findings from that study, 930,000 employees have no way to save for retirement at work, and 88% of voters over 50 wish that they had saved more for retirement. So I want to chat this more with Michael Collins. He's a director at the University of Wisconsin-Madison Center for Financial Security. Michael, always great to have you here with us. So I just highlighted two of those key findings. We also have a full screen of some of the rest, and it includes a pretty alarming stat here, which was that nearly 500,000 seniors will be living in poverty by 2030. Now, I know this study essentially focused on the state of Wisconsin, but I'm wondering if you would say that there is a retirement savings crisis in the rest of the country as well.
Yeah, no, I think unfortunately Wisconsin's not unique. These are the same situations that, families face across the country. The governor and the state treasurer convened this bipartisan task force, which I was lucky to be part of, to try to understand this issue. And what we learned is that, for a lot of employees, they work at smaller companies, smaller businesses, less than 50 people or less than 100 people. It's really hard for those businesses to provide, a really robust retirement plan. And oftentimes when they do, they can't get good pricing. The fees and costs are high. They can't get good investment options. So, for many workers, they just don't have the chance to save at work. And, when they don't have that, it means they're kind of on their own, and oftentimes end up not saving at all.
I'm wondering how important then are those employee-based retirement plans, and what does that mean for folks who perhaps can't get them through work? Are they essentially just out of luck?
Yeah, it is such an advantage when you have an employer who has a good retirement plan, even a defined contribution plan, because if you pay yourself first, you make contributions out of your paycheck, you're going to be much more likely to be able to approach retirement with a pretty good nest egg saved up. For people who don't have that option, they have to do an individual retirement account, an IRA. And there are good ones out there, and people certainly can navigate that system. But again, if you're a small saver and only have a few $1,000s and you're, contributing sporadically or self-employed, oftentimes you're just not getting great deals. And so as a result, people struggle, or, oftentimes like during the COVID crisis, that becomes their emergency fund. And so they cash it out, take some penalties and use that as they need to. So, we've recognized lots of ways that, workers are also changing jobs more. They're not spending 20 or 30 years for the same employer. So, they're accumulating accounts here and there. And so all that kind of adds to the chaos that many workers face.
All right. So we've pretty much laid out that there is a clear problem. What then is the solution to that crisis?
Well, Wisconsin is kind of following the lead of some other states. There's about a half a dozen states now where the state is sponsoring a individual retirement account on an IRA. So we're calling this Wisconsin Saves in Wisconsin. It's a proposal at this point. It hasn't been passed by the legislature, but the idea is that, we'll take thousands, tens of thousands of these workers who don't have an option to save at work, pool them together and try to create a plan that is competitive, where we could have small dollar savings with low fees, good investment options, giving the sort of buying power that large employers might have to employees or at smaller organizations. We'd also say that, every, company or firm above a certain size has to provide either that plan or a plan that they provide. And it's an opt-out. So unless an employee says, no, I don't want to take part, they're automatically enrolled in these savings plans. And, we think this is going to really reduce the rate of people retiring or getting towards retirement with no savings from their workplace.
Of course, I have to ask you about the cost. Now, I think you've very clearly highlighted, and that study really clearly highlights that we're going to end up paying for it one way or the other. Either we pay for it upfront, or we have to pay for it when we have a bunch of folks living in poverty, sadly, and therefore need to be on government assistance. But the upfront costs, do taxpayers pay for it? How do we pay for this retirement plan for folks?
Ultimately, these are accounts that are owned and operated by individual employees. So, there are fees associated with them. We'd like to keep them small, and those fees will hopefully be self-sustaining over time. It'll take a few years. So in the beginning, the state will have to have a few employees that work with the investment companies and get these plans set up. But after 2 or 3 years, those fees should start coming in and being able to more than pay for what those fees are. So in terms of the state budget, it's not a huge cost at all. And in the long run, it's as you say, a net gain, because we won't have these additional costs of these employees needing public services as they reach retirement.